we had a lot of stuff today, Kim. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Diddy's former assistant was
Obama's face on a pill bottle? That's just one of the jaw-dropping claims from inside the courtroom as Diddy faces explosive allegations. From strange drug habits to unsettling party demands, the details are piling up, and they're painting a troubling picture. What's really behind these bizarre accusations? Stick around, because we're breaking down every shocking twist in this unfolding case.
Again, Sean Diddy Combs has moved into its seventh day of testimony. Today, the former personal assistant to Mr. Combs, David James, returned to the stand. Jurors also heard from the mother of singer Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend. He has pleaded not guilty to all of those charges. NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Melas is outside of the courthouse in New York City. Chloe, walk us through what has happened in court so far today.
Yeah, so Ellison, you talked about David James. He is somebody who worked for 2 years for Combs as a personal assistant, and he really pulled back the curtain on what it's like to work for someone like Combs. He said that sometimes his days would be 20 hours at a time, and he would work 21 days in succession with no breaks. And he talked about how he knew that he was signing up for a tough job, but he also talked about how Combs allegedly had him.
Think about that, man. Working 20-hour days, 21 days straight with no break. Think about the stuff he has heard and seen. Think about all this is what I was talking about. This is what I've been waiting for. Because, I know a lot of people are quiet because they probably were going to testify. And then there's people who are quiet because, they trying not to get on Diddy's bad side, allegedly. But this right here, I said bodyguards and drivers, and of course, personal assistants. These are the people who know the most, seen the most. Wow, that's, boy.
So have him get prescriptions under his own name.
Okay, so, sorry. I don't know if I can mention all the stuff he would get for Diddy, stuff for Diddy to put in his body, but they were just saying that that's what he was doing. He was the one that was getting this stuff and saying that, now they're getting into the racketeering and all that. Because people were like talking about Cassie saying all of this, yes, is DV, but this is not what he's on trial for. And hey, but wait, there's more. Now we starting to get into it. They said they were just laying the platform down.
Let's break it down. Why would anyone have a pill bottle with President Barack Obama's face on it? That's the strange and widely discussed detail revealed during David James' testimony about his time working for Diddy. According to James, this wasn't just a passing observation. It was something he saw regularly. He claimed that Diddy never left home without a collection of pill bottles, but one in particular stood out, a container that allegedly featured the smiling image of the 44th President of the United States. Naturally, this odd visual sent a ripple through the courtroom, and later, the internet. People were left wondering, was it prescription medicine? Something recreational? Or simply a novelty item with no deeper meaning? So far, there's no solid explanation. No labels were identified. No brand names or pill types were mentioned, just that unforgettable image. James told the court that the bottles weren't hidden away. They were carried openly, like everyday personal items. And when it came to the one with President Obama's image, James made it clear how unusual and unsettling it felt. Observers inside the courtroom reportedly had mixed reactions. Some appeared stunned. Others quietly laughed, unsure if they had heard him correctly. Did he really say that? One person was overheard whispering. Though the claim might sound trivial at first, legal analysts have noted that even these strange details can shape the narrative for jurors. They build a psychological picture, one that could suggest eccentric behavior or an unpredictable environment behind the scenes. Still, this specific claim has one major flaw. There's no physical proof. No photos. No records. Just James' word. That lack of evidence may work in the defense's favor, especially if they frame it as an exaggeration or distraction. Outside the courtroom, however, the story took on a life of its own. Social media lit up with memes, jokes, and speculation. Late-night hosts even found ways to weave the oddball claim into their monologues. Whether the pill bottle really existed or not, the mere mention of it has added another strange thread to an already complex case. And for many observers, it's just more fuel to the fire. A reminder that this trial is filled with unexpected turns. But the eccentric pill bottle might not even be the most bizarre part of James' testimony. His next claims, about elite gatherings with highly unusual rules, may raise even more eyebrows.
We had a lot of stuff today, Kim. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Diddy's former assistant was forced up there. We had Cassie's mom take the stand. The Punisher stepped up and got up in there. And then we had a HSI agent from National Security, Homeland Special Agent, who was responsible for the planning. And then we had a tease at the end, a big name coming tomorrow, it sounds like. Whoo! All right, we're going to get through it all,
Potentially.
We're
going to get through it all.
It looks that way. What was your overall takeaway today on day 7?
Overall takeaway, I was surprised. First of all, I will say David James, the assistant, is hilarious. I think everybody was there were multiple notes of people laughing in the courtroom, which technically you shouldn't be doing, but I couldn't help myself either. I had moments where I was just laughing my head off at just some of the answers that he was giving. Of course, his cross-examination was done by Costco lawyer, as we lovingly call him, Mark Agnifilo, because of his baby oil jokes, or not jokes, but defense that was absolutely ridiculous. After that, we had Cassie's mom. Cassie's mom was not cross-examined. Diddy's team wouldn't do it, which I thought spoke volumes, and definitely learned something new of what she had to go through today. Then we had the Punisher, who was a worker that engaged in some of the FOs, kind of contradicted himself more than once. Not good. And then we moved into the HSI agent, and this was the agent who was in charge of organizing the Miami raid, and he had kind of just gotten started when the day ended. So lots to go through.
What exactly is a freak-off party? That's the phrase David James used during his testimony while describing his time working closely with Diddy, and according to him, these events were far from ordinary. These weren't just lavish celebrity get-togethers. James claimed they were intense, chaotic, and left him feeling repeatedly uncomfortable. But James wasn't just an observer. He said he was expected to help run these events, handling tasks that went far beyond the typical duties of an assistant. In fact, some of the responsibilities he described felt deeply personal and, at times, demeaning. According to James, these parties included high-profile guests, unpredictable requests, and an atmosphere that blurred the lines between professional expectations and personal boundaries. He claimed he wasn't just managing logistics, he was sometimes pulled into deeply awkward roles, pressured to keep things under control as the nights spiraled into excess. One of the more troubling parts of his testimony involved claims that he was instructed to monitor guest behavior, especially during private moments, to ensure nothing got out of hand. This, he said, pushed him far outside his comfort zone and left him questioning the ethics of his role. James painted a picture of a working environment where saying no wasn't an option. He described moments where resisting or objecting led to being scolded, embarrassed, or even threatened. He emphasized that these situations didn't just affect him in a moment, they wore him down over time. Perhaps the most emotional part of his testimony came when James recalled an incident where he had to remove an unruly guest from one of these parties. Instead of appreciation, he claimed he was harshly blamed by Diddy for the disruption. The public reprimand that followed, James said, made him feel completely disposable, like he didn't matter. These allegations go beyond a toxic workplace. They describe a culture of control and excess that's difficult to imagine. And while the trial continues to unfold, moments like these raise serious questions about what was happening behind closed doors. As disturbing as the pill bottle claims may have been, James' descriptions of these parties take things even further. And he didn't stop there. His testimony would soon turn to something even more serious: Diddy's alleged handling of firearms.
Remember, the government says that Combs was running his businesses and carrying out illegal activity and using assistants, security guards, and other individuals that work for him to carry out that illegal activity. So he's one of many individuals that previously worked for Combs that we're going to be hearing from. And like you said, who else did we hear from today? We finally heard from Cassie Ventura's mother. It was very brief on the stand, but she talked about taking photos of her daughter in 2011 when she came home to Connecticut for the Christmas holidays, and that she was shocked to see her daughter's body, that she hadn't been aware that her daughter's relationship with Combs had been violent at this point, and that she took those photos to memorialize them. And thankfully for her, she did, because they showed those in court today to the jurors.
Okay, again, just in case I had to trim out that Cassie's mother was talking about the photos she took revealing all the DV that went on with Diddy. She wanted to, take a photo and keep that for herself, as far as, like a day like this come, and she has those photos. As I said before, Cassie told the mother, and the mother knew about that stuff. She just didn't know about the pre-call. But again, I'm just saying this because it might have been chopped out in the video.
Chloe, explain for us how the prosecution plans to use these witnesses to build their case as it relates to the specific charges Diddy is facing here.
So remember, there are 5 charges, like I said, racketeering, conspiracy. So that's where you get the individuals that worked for Combs, whether it was security, personal assistants, chief of staff. We're going to be hearing from a chef who once worked for Combs. Then you have people like Cassie Ventura, you have her mother, you have individuals talking about coercion, force, feeling that there was so much violence in the relationship for some of these women that they couldn't leave, so therefore they were forced to participate in these freak-offs.
Right.
In charge. And remember, if convicted on all, he faces up to life in prison.
All right. NBC's Chloe Malas, thank you.
The moment firearms entered the testimony, the tone of the trial shifted dramatically. David James, Diddy's former assistant, testified that it wasn't uncommon to see guns at the music mogul's home or certain events. But according to James, these weren't carefully secured or discreetly stored. They were out in the open, raising serious concerns about safety. One particular incident stood out. James described attending a private gathering where a weapon, which he believed to be loaded, was visibly present in the room. It wasn't hidden or treated with caution. It was simply there, contributing to an atmosphere that he said felt tense and unpredictable. While James didn't say he was directly threatened, he emphasized the unease that came from being in such high-pressure settings where weapons were so casually handled. To James, the presence of firearms represented more than just a security risk. He suggested they symbolized control, a quiet but powerful force used to dominate the environment. Combined with what he described as an already intense workplace dynamic, it created a setting where fear and authority were deeply intertwined. Legal experts watching the case say these kinds of claims, especially if supported by evidence, could prompt broader investigations. If it's proven that firearms were handled or stored improperly, the legal implications could extend far beyond this trial. Even in the absence of direct misuse, the suggestion that weapons were present in party or work settings could raise serious liability questions. James also framed the firearms issue as part of a larger pattern, an environment marked by control, unpredictability, and psychological strain. He portrayed Diddy as someone who demanded complete control, not just through strong personality or influence, but potentially through the quiet presence of something more threatening. Inside the courtroom, James' testimony brought a noticeable shift in the atmosphere. Observers described the moment as unusually quiet, the mood turning somber as the discussion moved from eccentric behavior to something much more serious. Though Diddy has faced controversy in the past allegations involving weapons have never resulted in formal charges, but the history adds weight to the current claims. Perhaps most unsettling was James' admission that he never truly felt secure in his role. He spoke of leaving work at times unsure whether he had made it through the day unharmed, both physically and mentally. Yet, as powerful as this testimony may sound, no physical proof or additional witnesses have yet been introduced to support his claims. For now, the court only has James' word to consider. And as the trial continues, the absence of hard evidence remains a key factor. Will that lack of documentation benefit Diddy's defense? Or are we just seeing the beginning of more revelations to come?
Previously, though, we noticed that some of his family wasn't in the galley. Well, now it turns out again, right? Diddy's sister was there, but his mom and sons were once again not present. Second day in a row. Take that as you will. But David James, his former assistant, came back on the stand as Kim was sitting up. He seemed a little sassy, Kim.
Very.
He did say he didn't witness any violence between Diddy and Cassie. However, he did see a blog post alleging that Combs was physical with Cassie at a club. Diddy searched James's computer history. James had been taking Cassie food at the London hotel that week, but he never saw her. Staff always answered the door. He said
a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Right? There's like this report that something's wrong, and then he's delivering food to her at a hotel and doesn't see her for a whole week.
Without a doubt, suspicious. Yeah. He then also spoke about this Louis Vuitton bag regularly carrying $10K in cash, sometimes more. In the bag, there were 25 to 30 undisclosed pill bottles. These types you can see, along with Viagra and Tylenol, to increase manhood count and water pills. He later added this one and other E's to the bag and saw
Perky and
Combs.
X.
Yes, X. There you go. He saw Combs taking them. James said he was reimbursed by Bad Boy for the expenses such as medicine and snacks, but for certain supplies such as baby oil, Astroglide, and protection, he was told to be reimbursed by Combs' security staff, who would pay him in cash out of Combs' LV bag. Now, I think this is key, right? This is part of the racketeering, the business empire, how he was constructing where money was coming from, cash money being spent, etc. He testified that Diddy requested him to bring an iPad to the hotel room that they were staying in. When no one noticed, no one answered, he walked into the room to deliver the items, and he saw Cassie in a hotel bed with a man he did not know in the room.
I have to correct myself. I think that was a typo. It technically was an iPod, I believe. I believe we are before the time of the iPad being super popular. That was my mistake. But just to be, to
an
be
iPod, I remember
precise.
those before the phone and stuff. Yeah, we had to carry our music around in a separate device. Now it's all in one.
Right.
Well, now he saw this other man in a hotel with Cassie, and he said the man was well endowed. Let's go look at that exchange. I'm curious.
It was kind of one of these things, like it was Inner City Press said it, and we kept waiting to hear. We're like, how many of these other outlets are going to say he was well endowed? We didn't hear it, but yes,
with long hair and a large endowment,
and he scurried away.
Did you ask anything? I wasn't hired to ask about their personal affairs.
Nope.
I love it's the correct answer. Did you ever pick? They keep going. All right. Well, there'll be some more. I want to go through some of these more sassy responses. Diddy was in the shower. Cassie didn't move. James said he never asked them about it because he did not have conversations with them about their personal affairs. And that's what the job description was. He also claims he was subjected to multiple lie detector tests conducted by former FBI agent due to missing items. He found the experience intimidating and recounted incidents where Combs security searched his belongings after expensive items went missing. Additionally, James revealed that Combs kept footage of him dancing while under the influence at a Diddy party. If I recall this, he said, I'm just going to keep that for later.
Just in case he ever needed something to have on him, he then had it. And that's just unsettling. So it kind of just shows again that this idea of him having something on people seems to be a pattern. And in the grand scheme of things, David did not work for Diddy for an extremely long time. It was about a year and a bit. So I do find it interesting that clearly he was looking for opportunities and he got one and he took it. So kind of sucks. But again, this is also the New Year's Eve party that Cassie always really wanted to go to and apparently never got to because Kim Porter was there. So I understand it's like, okay, so the assistant gets to go, all these people get to go, but she doesn't. I get why it's frustrating.
Is there actual proof behind these serious claims? Or are we witnessing a case built mostly on testimony? That's the question everyone's asking as the courtroom drama around Diddy continues to unfold. David James' allegations have stirred strong reactions, but one thing remains noticeably absent: hard evidence. So far, no photos, documents, or additional witnesses have come forward. It's become a high-stakes situation, James' words stacked against Diddy's decades-long legacy. James, who worked closely with Diddy for years, says he witnessed troubling behavior behind the scenes. But the timing of his claims is raising eyebrows. Why speak out now? Some believe he may have personal or financial reasons for coming forward, while others say he may have felt trapped in a toxic environment and only recently found the courage to step out. Still, convincing a jury will take more than emotion. It will take trust, and that's not easy to earn in cases like this. Diddy's legal team is pushing back hard, aiming to dismantle James' credibility piece by piece. They've highlighted parts of his testimony that don't quite line up, casting doubt on how reliable his version of events truly is. In court, the defense has also suggested there could be hidden motives behind these accusations, suggesting the full picture hasn't yet come into view. This isn't the first time a public figure has faced serious accusations without physical proof. In past cases, the outcome has often hinged on the strength of evidence, or the lack of it. Johnny Depp's courtroom battle with Amber Heard showed how critical documentation and consistency can be. In that case, it wasn't just words that won the verdict, it was stacks of proof. Other trials haven't been so decisive, often fizzling out when evidence couldn't hold up. One revealing moment came when Diddy's defense attorney asked James directly whether he had anything tangible, like the infamous Obama pill bottles, to support his claims. James admitted he didn't. That answer became a turning point in the courtroom, with the defense immediately jumping on the lack of proof to challenge his credibility. Diddy, for his part, remained composed, his expression unreadable. Right now, the trial is balanced on a knife's edge. For James, it's about being believed. For Diddy, it's about holding on to everything he's built. And without hard evidence, it's impossible to know which way the scales will tip. What's clear is that this case is already leaving a mark, not just on Diddy's career, but on how the public sees him moving forward.
Today's cross-examination focusing heavily on Ventura's allegation that Combs raped her in 2018 after they had ended their relationship, which he denies. The defense showing text messages between the former couple the day after the alleged rape, including one in which Ventura sent a heart emoji to Combs. Combs' team also trying to poke holes in Ventura's timeline.
That is not the gotcha moment that defense attorneys think it is. I mean, at the end of the day, witnesses are not great on specific dates, particularly when they go back years ago.
The defense also pointing to a text exchange between Ventura and Combs from 2012, in which she wrote, "I don't want to freak off for the last time. I want it to be the first time for the rest of our lives." At times today, the defense appeared to struggle to maintain momentum, facing frequent objections by prosecutors and regularly stopping Ventura's questioning to whisper together. Combs appeared to be actively involved, passing his lawyers notes. In a striking exchange with Combs' lawyers, Ventura saying, despite it all, "I don't hate him. I have love for the past and what it was."
We also saw musician Dawn Richard take the stand. She said that she witnessed Combs be violent with Ventura over the course of their relationship. I just want to remind everyone that Combs denies all of the allegations against him. Back to you.
The spotlight on Diddy has never been more intense, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Once celebrated as a powerhouse in music, fashion, and business, he's now facing allegations that could reshape everything tied to his name. Testimony from David James has introduced unsettling claims, from bizarre party behaviors to concerning power dynamics, that paint a very different picture from the polished public persona Diddy has maintained for decades. Social media erupted the moment the details emerged. Some moments, like the Obama-themed pill bottles, quickly became viral talking points, but beyond the memes, the tone has shifted. Fans are no longer just watching, they're reacting. Some are stepping back, reevaluating what they believed about the man behind the empire. Others remain firmly in his corner, questioning the motives behind the testimony. This divide is becoming a key part of the story, especially among younger followers who know Diddy more as a global brand than a hitmaker. And it's not just reputation on the line. His business ventures may also be at risk. From music labels and media platforms to fashion lines and liquor partnerships, Diddy's reach spans multiple industries that tend to back away from controversy fast. Just think of how quickly other celebrities have seen their business relationships vanish when public opinion turned. So far, no brands have pulled out, but that could change depending on how things unfold in court. Behind the scenes, even the perception of instability can raise red flags. One branding expert noted that companies often distance themselves at the first sign of trouble, not necessarily because of guilt, but because of risk. And when allegations carry this much weight, the fallout can last for years, regardless of the trial's outcome. Look at how public memory continues to wrestle with the legacies of other icons caught in legal storms. Diddy may be on the brink of facing that same long-term scrutiny. Inside the courtroom, one moment stood out. As James recounted a disturbing party incident, Diddy, usually composed, sat stiffly, gripping the table, his expression tense. For a figure known for confidence and control, it was a rare crack in the image. As this case continues to unfold, the question remains, will Diddy's legacy endure, or will these revelations permanently reshape how he's remembered? One thing is clear, this story is far from over, and each new chapter could change everything.
I'm glad she said what she said, because that's what I've been talking about, and I was trying to get people to understand. I don't know if people are trolling or not, man, but this is what I'm talking about when you are putting fear into people's heart. Of course, they're going to do whatever you say. So on the outside, it may look consensual, but it's not. These people, these women, and probably some guys too, basically scared for their lives. So again, his team is trying to say consensual when they're saying, no, this is how you get into this stuff, is putting the fear in their heart. They can't leave because they scared what's going to happen. So now they're going to do whatever he's asking, to stay alive, to keep their careers, whatever the case may be. Because like I said, these people were promised things, and then I can take it away from you just like that. I was looking at a comment here. Someone said, trying to figure out why a billionaire would want $20K chump change from the mom, and why would he give it back? Wait, what? $20K? He gave it back because he realized it was a criminal offense. What is that about? Hold on. $20K? I'm trying to look that up. See what this is about. Cassie mother says Sean Diddy Combs demanded $20,000 because her daughter was seeing someone else. Oh, that's what the David James testified? Wait, David James, former assistant Sean Diddy Combs testified. No. Wait, hold on. No, they said I'm sorry, it was just a picture of the David James dude. Okay, hold on. An angry Sean Diddy Combs demanded $20,000 from Cassandra, Cassie Ventura's mother, and threatened to release explicit tapes of his longtime girlfriend after learning she was dating someone else. The mother testified Tuesday at the hip hop mogul's trial. Regina Ventura says she felt physically sick when her daughter sent her an email in late 2011 to Combs to say Combs threatened to release videos of her and send someone to hurt her and the man she was seeing, the rapper Kid Cudi. Wow. I didn't understand a lot of it. The tapes threw me off, Ventura told Manhattan Federal Court. Ventura of New London, Connecticut, says she then received a demand from Combs for $20,000. He was angry that he spent money on her and she went with another person, she said. Cudi, whose real name is Scott Muscudi, I can't pronounce that, sorry. Snap, he's going to testify Thursday, Kid Cudi? Oh my goodness.
Diddy's reputation stands at a critical turning point. For decades, he's been seen as a trailblazer, leaving his mark on music, fashion, and business. But now, serious accusations are challenging that legacy. These aren't just headline-making claims, they're causing both fans and insiders to take a closer look at the man behind the brand. Will this legal battle redefine how history remembers him, or will it eventually fade into the background? Share your thoughts below, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any updates as this story continues to unfold.